This game was provided to Crits Happen by Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy. Check them out online at dlair.net for all your comic and gaming needs. Hi everyone, it's Tox from critshappen.com. Thanks for watching and welcome back. We're here with another critique, sponsored once again by Dragon's Lair in Austin, Texas. If after seeing this review you like what you've seen, you can check out more from them online at dlair.net. Today we're going to look at an expansion, which we rarely do, but this one is very interesting. It is for Descent Journeys in the Dark 2nd edition from Fantasy Flight, and it is called Shadows of Nerekhall. This is a full-blown expansion. As some of you may know, Lair of the Worm is a smaller expansion, Labyrinth of Ruin is a bigger expansion. This is a big expansion as well. This is a $59.95 retail value. This is a wildly amazing expansion, and we'll get into why. But before we do that, let me talk a little bit about what Descent is in case you're unfamiliar with it. Descent, the original version, was a dungeon-delving, role-playing style board game that had modularity galore, whether it was your characters, whether it was the Overlord, whether it was the tiles that make up the scenarios, all the different things came together really nicely. Well, a little while ago, Fantasy Flight re-released it as Descent 2nd edition. A little more streamlined rules, a little more user-friendly, and so far, a lot more growth. The system itself has already seen a lot of expansions available for it, as well as a conversion kit, so if you had Descent 1st edition, you can convert everything into the 2nd edition style cards and gameplay. However, there is also an amazing, deep, rich community for this game. Fantasy Flight offers tools that are online that you can actually create your own scenarios. Now, with each expansion comes a scenario book, and each scenario or each quest has a different layout of all the different tiles that are involved. You, however, if you have your own ideas, can go online and create your own and share that with the world. Conversely, you could go online if you don't have your own ideas and download stuff that other people have created, and that makes it absolutely amazing. It also makes it very hard for an expansion to truthfully be really good in my personal opinion. Because while this may be a great expansion, it's $59.95 retail. What would make me want to go buy a $59.95 retail box set versus going online and downloading scenarios that I could continue to play my existing game for free? Well, those are some of the questions we're hopefully going to answer for you today as we jump in to the Shadows of Nerekhall. So here you see some of the things that you get inside of Shadows of Nerekhall. The first thing is a gigantic rule and quest guide. Now, I'm not going to show you everything here, but on the back is a map. If you're not familiar with Descent, what happens is there is a traveling map, and depending on how your story branches, you'll notice here there is a campaign log of every different type of quest you can roll through. But as your thing branches, you're going to travel from place to place, and there's cards that will affect what happens when you travel. But as you can see, this book is gigantic. There is quite a lot just in this one expansion when it comes to quests that are involved. That's one of the things I really like about this expansion. There's a massive amount of material just for this one expansion. Now, I've gone ahead and set up the base first quest in this campaign. And it's good to note that this is a very lengthy campaign. But you'll notice that there's not a lot on the board itself, and there's a reason for that. You must have the original base set to be able to play this. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but to give you an idea, this campaign starts off with an execution. This is a town square, and there would be tokens around this statue that are iron bindings and a statue that becomes alive. Now, I don't want to get too much into it because I want most everyone that plays this to experience it on their own. But the nice thing about the entire Descent system is while this set comes with 4 heroes, you can use any heroes you want from previous adventures. These 4 are very interesting. If there's anything I need to nitpick about around these is that 2 are kind of average and 2 are really cool. The Bard, for example, Rendil, is really interesting because he uses a bass and treble clef to sing songs, and then based on how he's leveled his character up, be able to buff and enhance or heal or help his party members. The other one that I find really cool is Ravello Lightfoot. She's a conjurer. She has the ability to have mirror images of herself, and the mirror images are wickedly awesome as long as you're not the Overlord. Because what happens is these mirror images, once she starts to level up, can do different things like not just attack. The other two that I think are kind of average are actually Kell the Swift, who is a skirmisher, who basically has two different one-handed weapons, and then the Shadow Walker, who is Tinashe the Wanderer. Both of those classes are fun, but when you look at the other classes that are available inside of Descent and some of the other expansions, they're not two that really jump out to me as something new or something unique enough to make me feel like I really would want to play them. I really personally prefer the Bard and the Conjurer over any of the other two, but it's not too bad when you have two heroes that are good and two heroes that are average in an expansion set. Now let's take a look at some of the monsters. So let's start by taking a look at the Infernian Hulk. The Infernian Hulk has a minion and a master monster, and he's got some really big stats. Now, he's got three major abilities. He's got Blood Rush, Charge, and Knockback. Knockback is probably my favorite. Now, while Blood Rush and Charge help him deal damage and move around the board very quickly as a very fast beast, the Knockback provides some interesting combinations for a really tricky Overlord. The Knockback says remove the target from the map, then place him on any empty space within 3 spaces of his original space. He counts as entering that space. That last bit, he counts as entering that space, can provide some really interesting combinations for a tricky Overlord. Next up are Changelings, and Changelings provide some of the coolest gameplay inside of Descent yet. Because aside from having some really good stats, rolling some really nasty dice, and having the abilities of Hideous Laughter, Whisper, Wither, and Bleed, you're going to have these different cards that are going to represent people that they can like change into. And if you look, there's a ton. I mean, just like, I think there's like 8 or 10. And what happens is just playing the same scenario over and over again with the same heroes and the same Overlord and the same Overlord deck, changing with just these changelings provides a massive amount of variability, which is really, really cool. Next up is the Rat Swarm, which was probably one of the funniest models ever opened in my house because it was opened up, it was looked at, and immediately dropped as somebody in the house doesn't like rats. The Rat Swarm is really interesting. Probably the coolest thing about the Rat Storm is the merge capability. The merge capability says choose one monster adjacent to this monster of the same group. This monster suffers damage equal to its remaining health, and the chosen monster recovers an equal amount of health. Now, that's important because the way the Rat Swarms work is they have the ability to deal damage equal to their health. So if you don't kill them on your turn, there is a very good odd that the Overlord is going to merge them together and mass them up and heal things to be able to do more damage. These guys just keep coming at you, and that is one of the more fun monsters that I've seen introduced inside of Descent right now. The mechanic of constantly feeling as though they're coming after you and coming after you every turn provides a situation where you have to make decisions as heroes. Do we take time attacking the Rat Swarms knowing they may not be able to be destroyed, or do we ignore the Rat Swarms, go after our objectives, but have to deal with the Rat Swarms coming after us, and if they're at full health, dealing a lot of damage? So it's really provided some really cool situations for the heroes to make choices. And then the final set of monsters that come inside of Shadows of Nerekhall are the Ironbound. And the Ironbound are kind of like Iron Sentry Golems, is the easiest way to describe it. They have the ability to protect other monsters that the Overlord is controlling. So if somebody comes in to try to attack that Rat Swarm we talked about, this Ironbound, if positioned correctly, could potentially negate the attack on the Rat Swarm and transfer it to him, which is really cool. Or he could end up taking some really cool abilities like Reach and Iron Skin, and again providing different options for the Overlord. Reach allows allows him to attack a target up to 2 spaces away. So not only can he stand by something and protect, but he can reach something really far away. And then Iron Skin says this monster is immune to pierce and to all conditions. So no bleeding, no poisoning, and nothing of the sort. So that's the Shadows of Nerekhall in a nutshell. We haven't shown you everything because, quite frankly, part of the joy of playing through Descent Adventures is not knowing everything and discovering as you play with your game group in your own pace and play style. But I can tell you this, if I was just starting with Descent, I would want to buy the base 2nd edition and this expansion. That would be so much awesome packed into one purchase. It would be amazing. If I already have Descent and I don't have an expansion yet, this would be the first one that I would want to go get. And if I do have Descent and I do have all the expansions, there is no excuse for me not having this. This set, in my opinion, is really, really solid. The first thing that I noticed when I opened up the quest book is this gigantic pathway for all the different quests. There's so much replayability because of the different things that can happen inside of this set of quests that it makes it really, really valuable. Now, you do need to know, you must have the base set for this. From the very first set, you may be able to see here, or we'll try and overlay a graphic for you, there are tokens from villager tokens and some iron binding tokens that don't come with the base, or with this expansion, Shadows of Nerekhall. You need to have the base set as well. So while this looks great from a starting position as a first quest, there's still more things that you need to have to be able to play this. So you cannot go buy just this set and think that you have everything you need. In fact, at the very base, you're definitely going to need dice, which don't come with this set at all. You do get 2 green dice with this set, which some of the monsters use, both in this expansion and other expansions, but it's going to be a lot of stuff to take in all at once, and if you don't have the base set, you're going to be left holding a $59.95 box with nothing really much to do, other than look at how cool this stuff is that you can't play with it. So definitely make sure you own the base set before you jump into this. But this gigantic list of quests, and as you can see, this book is really, really thick. This is, the rules are only these like first few pages, and then everything else gets into all the different quests that you can get into. There is some phenomenal stuff that happens in these quests, and I really, really enjoy it. However, it brings up a very interesting point. Lair of the Worm, for example, was a very fun expansion. It was very light. I think it was like $39.95 retail, and you could take things from that and weave it into other stories. This is its own story, and it is massive and it is big. So if you are thinking that you're going to get this and play this maybe 2 or 3 times with your play group, you're sorely mistaken. Because even if that's all you plan to do, you're going to get involved and you're going to see all the things that happen from a story perspective, and you're going to want to play it more. This is a very big campaign. So if you're looking for something to take up a lot of time and get your group together for a multitude of reasons, this is definitely it. But it's not to be tread over lightly. Now, aside from the awesome campaign, awesome story, and awesome replayability, there are some really cool new features inside of this set. There is a bleed token, which is really hard to get just deal with. Once you're bleeding, it's hard to stop bleeding, and it's really, really cool. There are a bunch of new monsters. The rat swarm is one of the cooler ones because they have this ability to merge together. The rat swarms are basically constantly coming at you, just like you would think in terms of a swarm. They have the potential to deal damage equal to their health, so you're going to want to kill them, but as you start dealing damage to them and don't kill them, they're going to be combining and merging to get even stronger. So there's a lot to deal with just from that one simple monster. There's also changelings, which are really super cool, because the changelings, while they come with a monster card, they also come with several different options as to what they could change into. So just playing the same scenario with a changeling could constantly change based on the type of character these changelings can become. There are also some giant hulks and some ironbound golems, and these models, as always with Fantasy Flight, are exceptionally well done. There are also new cards for the Overlord. The Overlord has Shadowmancer cards, which they are going to be able to use to develop themselves. If you're unfamiliar with Descent, as characters play heroes and use cards to level up and gain abilities, what happens with the Overlord is they have a deck of cards, and as they level up, they can change cards in and out to make up a suitable deck that they want to play with. And one of the different classes that is in this one now is called Shadowmancer. This is going to allow you to do a lot of things from back behind the shadows. You're going to be able to interact with the players a little more. You're going to be able to make them hurt each other and do a lot of dastardly evil things, which is really kind of cool. Now let's get into the heroes. The heroes are really cool. However, there are two that I think are really good and two that I think are kind of average. Let's go ahead and show you some close-ups of them, and we can talk a little bit about the heroes themselves. So Ravello Lightfoot is the first hero I want to look at. She is really cool because she's the Conjurer. And the Conjurer has mirror image. The mirror images allow you to create copies of yourself, and then as you level yourself up, are going to provide you the ability to do multitude of different combinations of things. But she is also going to have a really cool hero ability built in. She says that if you roll one or more blanks when rolling defense dice, you get to add a shield to your defense. So if you completely whiff your defense roll, you still get one defense, which is really nice. And then she has a heroic feat where she can test skills, and if she passes the skills, she gets to add 3 defense to the results. So if she knows she's about to take a massively big attack, she's got a very nice defensive trigger on her. Having those combinations of the defensive capabilities along with the ability to copy yourself to do some really fun combinations of abilities really makes for fun choices as a hero player. Next up is Tinashe the Wanderer. Now, Tinashe's big thing is the Shadow Soul. The Shadow Soul is a familiar that she can cast, who is very, very slow, but very, very powerful. She is going to have the ability to use like basic one-handed weapons and some armor at the very beginning. But the Shadow Soul is going to basically, every time a monster in their space is in their space or adjacent to them, they're going to suffer damage from an attack. It's going to suffer an additional damage. So the Shadow Soul gets really annoying really quickly for the Overlord to deal with. Her hero ability is fairly straightforward. Each time you defeat a monster, you recover 1 fatigue. So the key with her is you want to be able to last hit the monsters. It's a little tricky and a little timing based, and quite frankly with all of the other heroes that are in this set, I found her to be the most unenjoyable to play, but that's just my play style. You very well may enjoy this type of play style where it's a little more slow and timing oriented. I just found that when you sit down and play the Bard and you sit down and play the Conjurer, to play this one is a little bit of a different gameplay style that didn't lend itself to as much fun. After Tinashe and Ravello comes Kell the Swift. Now Kell is a basic fighter, barbarian, warrior type class where he's going to have 2 one-handed weapons, and he's called the Skirmisher. And the whole reason for that is he's a guy that's not going to go in with some giant 2-handed sword, but rather go in fast and heavy with 2 major weapons in each hand. He has a really nice hero ability. It says each time you're attacked by a monster and suffer at least 1 damage, you may move 1 space after the attack. Which, as you can imagine, being a skirmisher, he's going to have some things that will help him when moving, when attacking. So there's some really nice combinations you can add in there. He does have 10 health, so he does have a little bit of health to use as resource for that. And then on top of that, he has his heroic feat, which says use during your turn, while you are knocked out, to perform a stand-up action. Then you may either recover all of your health or move each monster adjacent to your figure 1 space. You can still perform 2 actions this turn. That is probably his best capability, because that means if you're knocked out, you don't have to use someone else's turn to raise you up or stand you up. You can literally just get up, start attacking, and you have some options based on what your abilities are and what you can spend to do some major damage, which is really, really nice. However, of course, it means you're going to have to be knocked out to be able to do that ability, which could become a bit of a frustration for the player playing Kell. And last but not least is Rendil the Bard. The Bard is interesting because he does kind of what you would think he would do. He gets to sing songs. He comes with a bass and treble clef token that he could place on different songs that he could sing that are going to buff, increase attack, help recover hit points or fatigue, and do different things for your party members. He also has a really amazing hero ability that says each time you revive a hero, you recover 2 health and 2 fatigue. That is amazing in terms of the healing capabilities that are inside of the game of Descent. And then his heroic feat says, revive an adjacent knocked out hero. Instead of rolling 2 red power dice, the hero recovers all of their health and their fatigue. Of all the characters inside of Descent, this guy is uber when it comes to healing, and that has made him extremely fun. At times, I feel he's almost too powerful for what he can do. The combinations of songs that he can sing with his hero ability and heroic feat have made some things a little easier than I feel they should be. He is a lot of fun to play, and he is super unique in terms of choosing the right song to sing at the right time. However, there is some concerns I have that over time he may prove to be the best healer in the game in terms of his options available to him. So as you can see, the heroes offer quite a bit of difference inside of this game. Now, I'm sure my comment about Rendil being the best healer inside of the game is probably going to get some flack, so bring it on, let's have a discussion. That's what I love about doing these videos. But I really do feel that, at least in this setup, this campaign, these heroes, he's extremely powerful, and he is a lot of fun to play, but at times, from an Overlord perspective, he can become really, really frustrating to deal with. And while I like the idea of healers being powerful, I don't want them to be so powerful that Overlords have a bad taste in their mouth after playing against him and seeing the power that he has and some of the things he can do. But that aside, it's a really creative character class. Again, I kind of feel as though the Shadow Walker and the Skirmisher are a little average, but the Conjurer and the Bard are really, really fun to play. I really like having to make choices as a hero player. I don't like feeling like the path is linear, and this does a really good job of doing that. Overall, as you can tell, I am absolutely in love with Shadows of Nerekhall. I think this is the best expansion that is out there for Descent right now. And again, if I were just getting into Descent, this would be the one expansion I would absolutely have to be able to check things out. But I would love to hear your thoughts as always. Feel free to engage by leaving comments below on the YouTube channel. You can of course find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus by searching Crits Happen, or at our homepage at critshappen.com. And we'd love to hear from you no matter where you are in the world. So let us know, is this the first time you're seeing Descent or Shadows over Nerekhall, and what do you think? Or do you already own Shadows over Nerekhall and you think that I'm absolutely bonkers and out of my mind, or exactly spot on? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you wherever you are. But until we see you next time, we hope you enjoy all of your Overlord musings and hero leveling up times inside of Descent, Journeys in the Dark 2nd Edition, and Shadows of Nerekhall, the expansion set. Thanks so much for watching. Keep rolling those dice. We hope they're all crits and surges.